Our situation was just different because Dan's illness was masked and misdiagnosed so many, many, many times. And it was catastrophic things. It was a violent illness. It was not a predictable illness. And there are terrible things that people suffer terribly over, but they have a name. They have a course of action. They have something that they can expect, a path that has been walked before them. In our case, we really did not have that. And initially, the doctors were, of course, very convincing that this was the thing, or, but we'd sit there and listen to them and really, I don't know, using our logic and just our instincts, and we'd think, gosh, is that really accurate? And we'd ask questions, and just the slightest bit of questioning would reveal that this is really not based on anything solid. This might have been out of habit. For example, I remember one time we were getting ready to get released from the hospital, and the doctor said, "Oh, I'm going to double your cholesterol medicine." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Why are we doing that?" He's like, "Well, it's for his cholesterol." And I was like, "His cholesterol numbers are perfect." And he is silent, and he looks, and he's like, "Oh, let me look at that." And he goes and he's reading the file, and he goes back and he's looking, and there's a couple minutes of silence in there. And then he's like, "Yeah, I guess they are. I guess I'm going to take them off that altogether." And I thought, what are we doing here? Cholesterol, this is kind of the basics, people. Like, what are we doing? If you're not paying attention to that, I don't know what we're doing here. The mysterious nature of his illness was such that it was just one episode after the next. And the medical community, we found several key people who would actually listen to us. But man, there was a lot of battles over trying to get people to hear us. And I don't know, I always tried to keep in mind that this is happening to Dan, that this isn't happening to me. It merely involves me. This is happening to Dan. And it's not personal. And it feels personal because it's our entire lives were affected. But it's not personal. This is just happening. And, these doctors were equipped to deal with the 85% of the population that behaved normally and that was, 85% of the time the right thing. But we were definitely not in that 85%. And I just had to keep remembering, this is just happening and we are not immune. And my survival instincts were to go into deep listening mode and observing mode. And I spent a lot of time watching what was going on and listening to what they were saying. I asked questions where I felt it was pertinent to get some sort of understanding. And I used logic a lot of times to just glean whether or not what we're talking about is accurate. Are they contradicting themselves even in the explanations or whatever we're talking about? And that skill saved Dan's life about 7 times, just me, myself, just by being logical and reasonable in the midst of all this crisis. You have to put your fear aside and be in the moment to be able to take in what they are really saying to you and think about it. There'll be time to process later. In the crisis, you got to be ready to think about it. And that really served us.